The federal government does not require work permits or proof of age certificates for a minor to be employed, but depending on what state you live in, they might. Before a minor can get their work permit, the place that is employing them must have a valid permit to employ and work. A permit to employ and work are usually issued by an authorized person at the minor's school. After the employer hires a person, the minor can receive a request to work permit. This form has to be filled out by the minor and the employer, and signed by the minor's parent or guardian. The final step would be to turn in the form to the minor's school, and the school official may issue a permit to employ and work. If a permit is issued during a school year, it expires 5 days after the start of a new school year. If you are between the ages of 6 and 15, you must attend school full-time, unless you are a high school graduate. 16 to 17-year-olds who have not graduated from high school can choose to attend part-time classes. Those who are regularly employed must attend classes for at least 4 hours per week. Those who aren't regularly employed must attend classes for at least 15 hours per week, but no minor is allowed to drop out of school entirely. A minute 16.
The Constitution doesn't say anything about driver's license because driver's licenses are regulated by the states. This is called federalism, meaning power is shared between states and federal government. Each state has a different requirement. In California, the requirements when you're 15 and a half, you take your permit and wait 6 months until you are able to get your driver's license. The requirements, if you're 18, you must have a permit, but at any time before a year, take a behind-the-wheel test and pass to get your driver's license. The full faith and credit clause addresses the duties that states within the United States have to respect the public acts, records, and judicial proceeding of every other state. The full faith and clause made it legal for you to go in any state with your driver's license, and they have to accept it. A driver's license is important to a teenager because when you get your driver's license, you have a lot of freedom. It also is a big accomplishment for us.
The national voting age used to be set at 21 years of age before it was changed to 18. The Congress passed the 26th Amendment in March of 1971, and President Richard Nixon signed it into law in July 1971. The debate of changing the legal voting age from 21 to 18 began during World War II, but quickly grew in the Vietnam War. One of the main supporters to the change in the legal voting age was Senator Edward Kennedy. He argued that it was wrong for young Americans to be drafted to serve in Vietnam and other wars but could not vote. Senator Kennedy took this case to the Senate of Constitutional Amendments. With his support, millions of young people were able to vote.
Mandatory education for all children under the age of 18 was established by the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001. The NCLB is defined as an act to close the achievement gap with accountability, flexibility, and choice so that no child is left behind. The legislation was proposed by President George W. Bush on January 23, 2001 and was signed into law on January 8, 2002. No Child Left Behind requires all public schools receiving federal funding to administer a statewide standardized test annually to all students. This means that all students take the same test under the same conditions. Schools which receive the Title I funding through the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965 must make adequate yearly progress in test scores. The Constitution affects our lives every day and we don't notice it. Work permits are not required by the federal law, yet some states require it. Working permits prevent young people like us from overworking and losing focus in education. The Constitution also protects our rights to vote when we turn 18. Through the work of many people, we are able to get the 26th Amendment signed into law. With this, younger voters like us will have a say in our local, state, and federal governments. Since the Constitution does not require each citizen to obtain a driver's license, it is completely up to the state to decide the requirements of obtaining a driver's license. This kind of power shows federalism at work and gives the state and its younger populace freedom from the federal government. The NCLB was signed to help underachieving students to get on par with the state standards. This act, however, holds many aspiring and overachieving students back. The programs at schools are made for tests and not solely for the learning of the students. Since the NCLB was signed by the President, the federal government controls the way states run their education.